the energy system that never heals. Some systems break and recover, others break and adapt around the damage. The global energy system is the latter. What looks like resilience from the outside is often scar tissue on the inside. And scar tissue, as any doctor will tell you, is never quite as strong as what came before. This is the story of an energy system under permanent stress, one that has never fully healed from its last crisis, because it was already managing the wounds of the one before. The 2008 financial crisis didn't just collapse banks. It froze investment pipelines, stalled infrastructure projects, and scrambled the demand forecasts that every major energy company had built their decade around. Projects were canceled. Talent left the industry. Capital dried up at precisely the moment when long-term energy security required long-term commitment. What came back wasn't the old system. It was a leaner, more reactive version, one that optimized for short-term margin over long-term stability. The spare capacity buffers that once gave the system breathing room were quietly eroded, and the world moved on, assuming the crisis was behind it. It wasn't. It was underneath it. Now consider the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's oil and a significant share of its liquefied natural gas passes through a corridor less than 30 miles wide at its narrowest point. This is not a vulnerability that emerged recently. It has been known, documented, and war-gamed for decades, and yet the global energy system remains structurally dependent on it. Why? Because redundancy is expensive. Because rerouting infrastructure costs billions and takes years. Because every actor in the system assumes someone else is managing the tail risk, right up until the moment no one is. The Middle Eastern industrial race complicates this further. Gulf states, sensing that the age of oil has an end date, are accelerating their diversification into petrochemicals, aluminum, fertilizers, and heavy manufacturing. These industries are energy intensive. They consume domestically what was once exported globally. The supply available to the rest of the world quietly contracts, not through any crisis, but through entirely rational, sovereign economic decisions. The LNG market has emerged as the world's attempted solution to this structural fragility. Liquefied natural gas can be shipped, redirected, and repriced with a flexibility that pipelines cannot match. America became the swing supplier. Asia, led by Japan, South Korea, China, and increasingly India, became the anchor demand. Europe, after decades of pipeline dependency on Russian gas, was forced into a rapid and expensive pivot toward LNG terminals and floating storage units. But flexibility has a price. The LNG market is volatile by design. Spot prices can swing by multiples within a single quarter. Long-term contracts, which once provided predictability, are increasingly unpopular in a world that prizes optionality. The result is a market that can respond quickly but cannot guarantee anything. And so we arrive at the crisis threshold. Every complex system has a point beyond which disruption stops being manageable and becomes structural. Below the threshold, the system absorbs shocks. Above it, the shocks absorb the system. The global energy system has been operating close to that threshold for years. Not in crisis, but not far from one. Each disruption is contained. Each recovery is partial. Each patch introduces new dependencies, new brittleness, new assumptions that will eventually be stress tested. The system has memory. Every crisis leaves a mark. A rerouted supply line, a canceled project, a policy written in panic and never revised. The system remembers its injuries. It has just never had the time, the capital, or the political will to fully heal them. What does resilience actually look like for an energy system that has learned to live with its own damage? That is the question this era is forcing us to answer. Not in theory, in real time, with the lights on and the stakes very, very high.